episode of the Lone Wolf Howlcast, howling out for logic and reason in a definitive week filled with madness. Once again, I'm joined by Tiral.
How's it going?
Little backstory on us. Sorry there, Tiral, I stepped on you. Little backstory on us. This is not my day job. I am definitely a 9-to-5 guy who doesn't do this. However, Tiral is brilliant, and his actual top-tier level job is data mining research. So chances are Tiral is going to have a lot more info than I do on the events of Wednesday the 6th in the USA Capitol, Washington, DC. Sorry, Tiral, I stepped on you back there. I know you were going to say something. Go ahead.
We really had other topics that we wanted to talk about.
We had other topics we wanted to yell at each other about tonight.
We're going through history. We're absolutely going through historical times right now, and it's worth talking. I actually called up Lone Wolf on Wednesday night, and Thursday I was like, hey, we got to talk, and I'm a bit glad that we didn't talk right after. I'm actually quite grateful that we didn't jump off the handle and have hot takes. There's much more video. There's much more news that came out, reports, public statements now, so they're like we can talk about context. I think.
Sir, I'm going to warn you. I will have some handle jumping tonight.
Oh, okay. I mean, if you and I talked Wednesday night, I would have been super depressed because I literally. My fam called me up, said, turn on CNN. I stop work, go to the TV, and lose the next 7 hours of my life watching the Fox News and CNN and CNBC, just flipping through the channels. And then the day after was the first wave of hot takes and instant commentary and rabid reactions from all the sides. And so if we talked Thursday night, we would have been super angry because that's what happened. Wednesday night was.
You know what? I was really more concerned about you with your background than a couple other people that we know.
Oh,
I was more concerned about things going down on like a broader scale. I was worried about that. I'm not going to tell anybody about you. That's your business if you want to say anything out loud. I'm definitely not going to tell anybody else's story because it's not my place to do that.
Yeah, it's I mean, today I felt that is the day that you can have a real educated opinion on what has occurred. I mean, even before we started recording, you and I were getting heated about what to even call this thing.
Yeah, I think we're still going to have differing opinions on that one.
Yeah, and so. This is with actual public statements by the government, actual statements by people, politicians, misinformation, disinformation, fake news being debunked, the first arrests being made. So even now, 2 days after the fact, we're in such a much better place to even discuss this. We're still going to be having wildly vast differences of opinion.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know if it'll be so wildly vast tonight.
For the
most part, we're going to agree
out in the country. I was using the we as in people in the country.
Well, I think for everybody else, they're not going to catch the royal we there, Tiral. They're going to think it's you and me.
Oh, no, I think I was just talking in terms of America. Like, I think not every American is going to have 7 hours to watch the TV on a Wednesday like I did. Not everyone is using the same news sources, and not everyone is quite understanding the order of events that was going on. Not everyone. Some people might have parts of the story clear cut, and others not. Like I don't know if honestly, I don't think we're gonna be able to grapple with what happened on Wednesday for a year or two.
Well, in fairness, Tiral, not all of us have direct access to admirals and generals or the top brass at Cicada 3301. So, which I'm pretty convinced you do.
Cicada 301 was a failed neo-anarchist project.
It's actually still going, man.
No, it's failed.
There's still people trying to solve the 2019 puzzle.
Oh no, the puzzles are still there, but the people who solved it the first 2 years, they went in and it turned out to be this recruitment drive for a group trying to do neo-techno anarchism, and it
Oh, so
felt
Russia was recruiting.
no, not a state. No, it was
I know it wasn't state funded. I'm joking, Terrell.
well, people thought it was so complicated and it was so high level that at one point some people thought it was state funded. That they thought it was a three-letter organization in one of the countries trying to recruit the
Yeah.
best of the best. But sorry, we're getting off topic. Cicada, we'll talk about Cicada another time.
Yeah, we could definitely cicada another time. That's awesome. That's some mind bending stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this is going to be our first point of contention, Terrell, is that I'm going to call it a protest a protest that turned into a riot, but I think you had a different term for it.
Yeah, I'm going to use what the CIA, FBA, NSA, and the rest of the world is
Did you say the FDA?
FBA.
Oh, the FBI.
FBI. Yeah.
Like even the Food and Drug Administration isn't on this?
The milk is expired. I mean, all the security agencies of the United States government has called it an insurrection.
Now they're calling it that because it happened on federal soil at the Capitol, right?
3 reasons. First reason, happened on federal land, federal property. It tried to interfere with the transition of government because the voting, they wanted to stop the voting or the certification of the voting results of the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
They put American legislatures and including the number 2, number 3 of the government in mortal danger. So,
those are fair points.
It absolutely did start off.
Because it started out as a protest somewhere else completely.
No, right? Not somewhere else. It started off as a protest because Trump on his pregame told everyone, go walk there, and show strength, not weakness, and saying all these other dog whistle things. Once they were there, the problem was there was the proportion of people who wanted violence, neo-anarchists, white supremacists, militia types, Proud Boys, 3%ers. There were so many there within that crowd of hardcores that came on a winter day that I think I looked at the timeline of the proceedings because the crowd got to the Capitol building and within 3 minutes a hardcore groups of people. So there was 2 crowds actually. There was one crowd that came just from Trump's rally, and there was a second crowd. And the 2 crowds were actually orderly. They met at the Capitol building, and when the 2 crowds they met before the Capitol building and combined into one. And when the 2 crowds combined, that's when things went out of control. Because once they combined, they were very orderly. But before that, when the 2 crowds combined, that's when the Capitol Police officially, according to their records, lost their nerve because they didn't have the manpower to handle the combined crowd of everybody. And that's where the pictures you see the pictures of this huge sea of people, red and blue. That was the combined 2 crowds. Initially, they weren't. So when it was just 2 separate groups or masses, it was orderly. It was a protest. They had all the signs of a law-abiding protest. The 2 crowds combined together, they become one, and a few minutes later, they reach the Capitol building, and that's when the hardcores went through.
So I do want to make a point of order here. Inevitably, everybody's going to claim that the entire crowd is racist and white supremacist.
It was absolutely not true.
Right, exactly. That's not true. That's like making a broad stroke statement like everybody in BLM is an anarchist and a domestic terrorist and a racist, and that's not the case either. Some of them are marching and protesting for, very good reasons.
In a private long conversation before this one I had with someone...
With one of those Stephen Hawking level people that you talk to, right?
Yeah. I got into an argument with him because he was saying Republicans over and over again. I want to make it clear that the crowd that was there in the insurrection, they were not Republicans.
Protest.
No, you can keep saying if everybody in the world's calling it, but again, these were not Republicans. These were not conservatives. These were hard right lunatics, right wing lunatics that do not represent a third or half of the country. This is the point of the spear of people who want civil war. These are people who want violence. These are people who believe that they're gonna win in combat, in rage. These are not a person. They're not Republicans. And the people who came, let's be real. At this point, if you're going to Trump rallies in the middle of winter, you are not
DC.
in DC.
DC on the Potomac, no less.
Yeah, you're not you're not in the norm. You're not representative of the vast majority of the country. You can love Trump. I'm not saying you can't, and you can go to a Trump rally. I'm not saying that's a big scarlet letter. But if you're going for a Trump rally and protest in the middle of DC in the wintertime, as these things are happening, if you believe in stop the steal, you may be 1/3 to 45% of the country. But if you're willing to go violent, if you're willing to go to these extremes, you're no longer part of the crowd that makes up America. Now you're in this small group, small but disturbingly large in nominal terms, but proportionately a small group of extremists.
Right. Now there was some pretty serious supremacists there. I wouldn't even call them supremacists. They were anti-Semites.
The white supremacists, anti-Semites, yeah.
Like there was one guy wearing or at least one person that I saw some screen caps of that was wearing a Camp Auschwitz hoodie.
Yep.
With the SS officer symbol. I'm not sure what to call it. The skull with I don't even know what the SS symbol looks like, honestly. I know it's the lightning bolts, and then the officers had a skull symbol, but I don't know what that is exactly. And then something else I learned today too, Tiral, and you might already be ahead of me on this because you're a really smart bastard. But there was a bunch of people, not a bunch. I saw 2 people in a couple screenshots wearing shirts that said 6MWE, which I found out meant 6 million wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that don't know what that means, is that the Nazis killed at least 6 million Jews in World War II that we know of. It might be more.
And non-Jews, gypsies, Muslims.
Black people too, by the way.
Everything that they
everything that wasn't a Nazi, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very equal opportunity in this regard.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, they were again. The interviews on the streets of the people there was extremely indicative of the mental illness that QAnon is. And
there was another guy staring down the Metro cop that had the giant QAnon on his hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah, the level. These are not Republicans. They're not conservatives. They're not regular people, Joes. These are the lunatic fringe of America, and extreme of the new lunatic fringe. Even though not everyone who was crazy went to DC, but everyone who was at DC, I mean, they don't represent the vast majority of America.
I'm nodding my head like I'm going to show this video. I'm just going to rip the audio out of it later.
but I mean, that being said, it is disturbing how many people have mental illness, and how much our population is stuck inside echo chambers. Regardless of the political affiliation, if you're stuck only hearing what you want to hear, only listening to
Right.
people who agree with you, only never checking things out for yourself.
And when you're not open to discussion about it either.
Right.
Like we know some people like
Dogmatism.
that there's no hope of talking to them about an alternative view.
Yeah. You can see interviews of these people, and like they're talking like they're living in a completely different reality, because they are living in a completely different reality. You want to know one of the biggest tragedies in American politics right now?
What's that?
Say what you will about Trump. I obviously hate him to a very intense level, but he is a marketing genius. He understands human psychology. He's great on the mic. He's great on TV. He's great with the camera.
Are you saying that he'd cut a great wrestling promo?
Well, I mean, he did.
Which he did in the past?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. He could cut a fantastic wrestling promo. We all know this stuff, right? Everything I've said is not up for debate. What?
Also, I have to interject one other thing. I'm sorry, Tiral.
Yeah,
I know you're
go ahead. Go ahead.
As far as I know, he's one of the rare few sitting presidents that didn't want to go to war with anybody and was trying to pull troops out.
That is absolutely correct. I think till this past year, he was the most pro-peace president we've had since Jimmy Carter.
Right? And this may get turned on its head as soon as I say it, but he was also pushing for the $2,000 COVID relief check, which Pelosi kiboshed, whatever. And instead, we all ended up with $600 instead of $2,000. That $2,000 would have been pretty sweet that he was pushing.
No. Pelosi, well, man.
Dude, Pelosi put the axe.
We're going into this thing where like we're gonna get sidetracked because everything is so connected and it's such a
I know, right? It's a giant spider web. Like we're gonna talk Pelosi, and then we're probably gonna go Mitch McConnell because he had something to do with it too.
Yeah, like we can.
So, all right,
it's gonna be
back
hard
on
to
track
keep
then,
on track.
Tiral. Here we go. Back to the issue at hand. So,
okay,
the Capitol event.
So let me finish that one thought. The tragedy of U.S. politics as of right now. So I've said all these things about how good Trump is, right? And these particular ways Trump is exceptional. And I don't think he's going to get matched. The way he understands people, I don't think is going to get matched but for a long time. So people trying to copy Trump, it's not going to work. This is the tragedy. As insane, as stupid, as absolutely narcissistic as Trump is, he's an actual leader. And the Republicans don't have any other leaders, and the Democrats don't have any leaders. And what I mean by leader is when they say something, do something, people will listen and do it.
Right.
Biden came in and said what bullshit he had to say about, this is America, we're not like this. No one gave a damn. No one gave a shit about
the Biden speech. I was so wrapped up in everything else going on.
No one gave a shit about Biden's speech. Because why would you? He's not a leader. No one wanted him. Who voted for Biden? It was an anti-Trump vote. It was not a pro-Biden.
Right, it was a not Trump vote that we discussed in one of our other which, by the way, is now available on YouTube. You can check out our analysis and discussion over the Biden acceptance speech.
Oh yeah, with Kamala.
With pending president in the wings, President Harris pending in the wings.
Absolutely.
Anyway, again, that's off topic too. You're right. It's such a spider web, and we're gonna jump down these rabbit holes. We're sorry, folks. We're gonna do our best.
Like honestly, how are we gonna not? It's too insane. Everything that's happened. But
okay, so I heard that Nick Cage finally stole the Declaration of Independence during the mess.
Best meme. Holy shit, that was a good meme. Whoever did that Photoshop is.
Oh my God! Whoever photoshopped that is. Somebody needs to hire them and pay them at least 6 figures.
Chef's kiss, just like.
Yeah, right. A little Salt Bay. Elbow wrist action on that one.
So goodness. Okay, so Trump is a leader. Trump is a true leader, meaning when he says things, people want to do it. When he says things, people want to trust him. When he says go through a brick wall, people will go through that brick wall. There's no other leader anywhere. Pelosi's not a leader. Schumer's not a leader. Biden's not a leader. Kamala Harris is not a leader. Stacey Abrams is a leader, but she's not in government. There's no leaders in government right now. Lindsey Graham is not a leader. No, Matt Gaetz is not a leader. There's no leaders. Mitch McConnell's not a leader either.
Right.
The only person in government in American government right now that is a leader is a lunatic. That's the problem.
What has he been diagnosed as? He was diagnosed as egomaniacal or narcissistic something or other.
There's an extreme word for narcissism. He's a malignant narcissist. Like, he's a narcissist who actively does terror. Like, he ruins things around him. Like, he can't even help himself.
Isn't that obstinate? What is
That's
it?
the lesser level. Obstinate is another one.
It's ODD. I can't remember what the heck the acronym stands for.
I think it's when you combat authority.
I think it's when you're just an absolute, like, contrarian to whatever somebody says or asks you to do. Yeah. It's like obstinate disobedience.
Oh, that's not him. No. He's got this extreme form of narcissism that is, we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen. He tells the crowd, "I'm gonna walk with you, and we're gonna go there and do all this stuff, and we're gonna show strength." And what does he do? Literally, he goes into a tent with security and TV monitoring everything. They're playing music, and Don Jr. is doing cocaine and with his girlfriend, and they're all dancing and happy and talking about showing strength and fighting. And Trump is just watching the whole time. And reports came out that he was happy when they invaded the Capitol building, but he thought that the people that represented him were low class, and he was upset about that. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the tragedy of the United States government. We don't have leaders. We don't have people who Americans want to go to war for. Was Obama a leader? No. Was Clinton a leader? No.
I gotta interject one more time. I can't
Bush
wait.
Jr. was a leader, though.
I can't wait until Obama starts doing the stand-up circuit.
What do you mean?
Come on, he was one of the funniest presidents.
He was pretty good. Oh, he was quippy.
Great sense of humor and fantastic delivery.
He was good with the quips. What I mean is, if there was other leaders, true leaders in government, maybe we could have stopped Trump these 4 years. But we had bullshit artists like Pelosi and Schumer, and we had no one in the Republican Party except Romney, who also is on the bullshitty side because he's a deacon. He's a major deacon in the Church of Mormons, Latter-day Saints, and he has a lot of power. So he's allowed to do things with cost free. But is anyone going to go to war for fucking Mitt Romney? Hell's no. That's my whole point, man. I just wish if government was something that people wanted to actually be involved in, because it wasn't so dirty, it wasn't so corrupt, I don't think we would be where we are right now. But we're here, and when Trump is out of the scene, there's no leaders to replace Trump. So I don't know what's going to be worse. So having one leader who's a lunatic, to going back to having no leaders and just corporate slaves.
Right. Although technically, I mean, despite the fact that he wasn't found guilty, I mean, Trump was bought and paid for by Russia.
Well, so this is one of the things, like when I talk about misinformation, impeachment is not a trial. It's not a court trial. It's a political instrument. So there was no finding guilty or innocence. It's not a court of law. If it was a court of law, his ass would be in jail.
Right.
But it's a political thing. Like, there was no chance of Trump being impeached because at that time he was giving the Republicans the W's. So Mitch McConnell did the math and was like, well, it pays us. It's better to have him still be in government than not. If there's an impeachment now, let's say there was 3 months left of the presidency, and impeachment actually happened again, Mitch McConnell and gang would actually impeach him. because the math worked out that way.
So I want to just point out a little side note here is that there's 11 days left before Joe Biden is installed in the Oval Office. And Pelosi is going to go off and waste how many tax dollars now on yet another impeachment attempt?
It's such a mistake.
It's such a waste of money, and who's paying for it? She's not.
It's
right. That
so yeah.
That son of a bitch. She voted down. She was against the rest of the common populace of the U.S. getting a $2,000 check. Meanwhile, she makes six figures.
Well, remember I just said about corporate slaves?
Mm-hmm.
The entire Congress, minus a few exceptions, don't want a $2,000 check, stimulus check. If it was a tax rebate for the top 1%, that shit would fly through in like butter.
Yep.
Grease lightning.
They wouldn't be able to pass it fast enough.
Right.
Yeah. I know most of our officials. I can't claim all, just like you can't claim everybody was a white supremacist, racist, anarchist during this event. But like, it is so depressing and disappointing that most of our elected officials are bought and paid for by bribery artists. Oh, I'm sorry, lobbyists.
Oh.
Right? It's such a shame that that's even a legal thing.
And it'll never go away.
And it'll never go away, exactly, because it just funnels money. And there's all that side deals that they don't get caught for.
Right.
So anyway, back to the mess. There was at least 2 fatalities.
There was 5 deaths, 1 police officer, 4 civilians. 2 of them, the deaths were hilarious. The other 2, not so much.
Tell me some idiot fell from climbing to like the 5th floor.
I think maybe 2 of them did. 2 of them. One, the video looks like a cop pushed him off.
Well, if it's self-induced, I have no pity or empathy or sympathy for them at all. The one that I wanted to get to, first of all, the 2 actually that I want to address, as far as I know, both were white people. One was Officer Brian Sicknick.
Yeah, Sicknick.
And apparently he got hit in the head with a fire extinguisher and then collapsed when he got back to his division office. And he died Thursday in the hospital. And the other one was Ashli Babbit. Ashli Babbit.
Yep.
So chances are, because there were white folk, that we're not going to see any rampaging riots across cities about their deaths, because one was a police officer and nobody ever riots about that, and the other one was a white lady who was actually killed, most likely, allegedly, by the Secret Service. So,
not allegedly, but it was definitely Secret Service.
Right, okay, until that comes out and it's said, on the 6 o'clock news that Ashli Babbit was shot by Secret Service member.
The report says Secret Service.
Okay.
Yeah, it's official.
The double standard that, let's say, some black teenager is trying to wrestle away a cop's gun and the cop shoots him in the process, and then all of a sudden cities are up in flames.
Well,
right?
Okay, so I'm going to
kind of a double standard there about how things went down.
I want to push back on this because the extreme lunatic right-wing fringe has already renamed her the MAGA martyr. They're making her into this big martyr for the movement.
Wait, before you go down that rabbit hole, I saw it on a site. I saw a video, a static camera from inside the hallway that the Secret Service and whichever representatives were with them were barricaded in. But the way the angle was is that you can see over their shoulders, and you were able to see out into the, the atrium or wherever the protesters were. And the windows,
man.
The windows were already broken out.
You go through a Capitol building, you fight through security. You're not going to be called protesters at that point.
Can I finish my thought, please?
No, we got to handle this. If they were outside the Capitol building, 100% okay with the word protester. If they went through, they're no longer protesting. Like, you either got to at best case, you got to call them rioters, and worst case, you got to call them insurgents, which all the
I'll agree with rioters. At that point, it was a riot. You're right, because there's property damage, there's vandalism, and just like all the other peaceful protesters out there that are only somewhat violent, just like OJ was only somewhat violent for 2 hours out of his day. You're right. Okay, we'll go with rioters. There was a video from inside the barricaded hallway, and it was a static camera over the Secret Service shoulders, and it was looking out into the main atrium through the broken glass of the door that was barricaded. And you can see a guy breaking through with some sort of implement. I don't know if it was an improvised weapon or like a mic stand or whatever that he was breaking the glass out with. And then from this perspective on the left was this woman climbing up on top of people, and she started kicking a window. And a Secret Service member on the right fires a shot at the woman instead of the guy with the improvised weapon. So that one's a little bit weird, that he shot at her instead of the guy breaking through with what was clearly an improvised weapon of some sort. And Tiral was here with me. Well, not here. He was here in spirit, but also here virtually while I was trying to find this damn video so I could quote the source, and it looks like it's been taken down already, which I guess I'm a little surprised, or I shouldn't be surprised that it's been taken down, because it's now 72 hours, give or take, half a day since the event. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it's down now and that it wasn't taken down, instantaneously as soon as it was posted. So I'm kind of surprised they shot at her instead of the guy with the improvised weapon. I did also see in the same video that it looked like there was armed Metro police that were trying to pull the rioters away from that doorway, but there was only 5 of them that I could see in the video, and there was pretty much a flood of people coming at them. And then when the shot went off, of course, the police did what anybody would ever do and ducked and looked for the shooter. And then at that point, the flood started to recede because there had been a gunshot in the video. From the angle I saw, you can clearly see that the Secret Service has their sidearms drawn, and one of them takes a shot at the woman on the other side of the broken out window.
So my interpretation, I've been thinking about this a lot, and as it was happening, with different videos and whatnot, I kept going back and forth about what happened, and finally, between the reports, the official reports, and a couple of videos that, I think there's at least 4 different videos of the incident, from different perspectives. I pieced together what I think is actually happened, and you gotta roll with me because I'm gonna kind of assume the psychology of what happened. For the insurgents, when they went through, their entire experience has been really minimal to no resistance from the Capitol Police. So every time they were controlled, up to the point of this incident, every time they came across police, the police relented really quickly. So the crowd, the insurgents who were full of adrenaline, mob mentality, they're streaming through, breaking through, and going through everything, and the Capitol Police would step aside. They haven't met resistance. They came to this particular group came to a particular hallway with a door barrier, and on the other side of the door was Secret Service.
Well, there was also piled up furniture on the other side too.
They were using that as barricade. It was an improvised barricade.
Yeah.
So like you said, it was an improvised barricade. It was not really a door. It was they're trying to block people, and the reason why the Secret Service were there was because that hallway would lead to Mike Pence and his people. So if you could get through that hallway at that moment in time, there is a risk of actually getting to the Vice President of the United States and his team. So up until this point, the insurgents only had Capitol Police who relented very easily. And all of a sudden you come in and here's these people who are telling you, stop, don't go, or have their guns drawn and don't go. But their entire experience up to this point has been what? Nothing. Like just relentless. Just, just keep pushing through. So this woman, Ashli Babbit,
yep,
who was such an extremist, she left her husband and kid in California to go all the way to DC to have and her tweets are insane.
Yeah, I've seen the tweets. The tweets were over the top. But I have to interject real quick.
Yeah,
there was actually some police resistance to it. There's plenty of video of the barricades that they were hastily erected, pepper spraying, fist fights, like actual assault,
right,
almost like MMA between some of the cops and the rioters. But also, if you're I don't know how many cops were on scene. I haven't seen that number, but let's even say there was 500 cops, right? And you have 10,000 protesters turned rioters.
They were overwhelmed. Yeah.
There's no if you're going to start something, there's no chance that the cops would have been able to finish it, and there would have been a lot more dead cops on the news, I think. Right. I also heard of all sources, the local news by us, that apparently the Metro Police declined assistance from both the National Guard and the FBI days in advance of this event.
Twice.
So that's a little shady, considering knowing the political environment that you're in and knowing the mindset of the people that are probably coming down to you. So that is a little weird, but it wasn't a complete cakewalk. Like, there were some scenes of resistance from the cops, but there was just no chance that even if there's 500 of them on scene, which I think there was less, and you have multi-thousand protesters coming at you turned rioters, if you put up a concerted fight, it would have been more dead cops on the news, man.
I'm 100% convinced, this is spoiler alert, that there was a huge element of the police that wanted this to happen. That allowed everything to happen. Like, there's just too much video. It doesn't make usually Occam's razor is, the simplest answer is the right answer. Don't don't blame nefarious plans and forces to something that could be explained by incompetence. But the level of failure that happened, the constant videos of cops just opening barricades and letting people go, opening doors and letting people go. The number of cops that were part of the insurgents, cops and ex-military personnel in the insurgents that were using their badge saying, "We're one of you, let us in." I fully believe a huge element of the police force, not everybody, but a huge element of the police force did not want to stop the crowd. There's even video of cops like waving people in. So
I haven't seen those yet. I've seen some where the cops are standing in knots together, safety and what minimal numbers they had.
Yeah.
And then I've seen some where, I wasn't sure if it was a Metro cop or not. There was somebody amongst SWAT-geared Metro cops who looked like they were in a military dress uniform, black uniform, but it was such a quick little video clip that I couldn't make out the insignia to see what branch it was. Who was also fighting back with the cops at a barricade. Like, he was actually in there swinging in his dress uniform. I think the best way to describe it all is sheer chaos.
So you had this crowd who met little resistance, and it's noisy. There's tons of people. There's chaos. It's a small hallway. They see a barricade, and to them, this looks like just another thing to just force through to get to the legislatures and stop the steal bullshit. In that crowd, what are the odds that you can hear the Secret Service say, "Back away"? Which
actually, in one of the videos, you can hear them shouting, "Back up."
Yeah, which they did.
Yep.
Right? And she just went through like she didn't give a shit.
She wasn't even through yet, though. She
climbed on the frame, the broken frame, to get through, and they shot her in the neck. And the Secret Service has a completely different set of rules of engagement than police officers do. The Secret Service doesn't ask questions; they shoot first.
Right. Yeah, we were discussing that prior to our session tonight, prior to the Howlcast. For those of you that aren't aware or don't know, first of all, Tiral and I never been on the Secret Service, but the Secret Service definitely has a very different rules of engagement than your average cop does. Like, where a cop has to yell, "Stop, halt, police, stop."
You have to threaten
shoot
the
at
cop.
Somebody who's fleeing.
Yeah, you have to threaten the cop. You have to make them feel that their life was in threat.
Completely dissipate any chance of catching somebody by surprise. Yeah. You have to identify yourself repeatedly. Whereas the Secret Service, they're on a whole different level. They're playing a different ball game entirely. So if anybody claims that it was, yeah, exactly, shoot first, because they're protecting the highest elected officials of the country, whether you like them or not. They're the highest elected officials of the country, and the Secret Service is sworn to protect them at all costs, literally at all costs. Like, their job is also to catch an incoming bullet, too. Yeah. So they definitely, without knowing what their rules of engagement are, I'm pretty sure they can shoot first if there's a clear and imminent threat. I'm not astounded. That's the wrong word. I guess I'll just stick with surprised that they didn't shoot at the guy with the improvised weapon. That was
because the guy with the improvised weapon or the two guys with the long arms behind them, they didn't pass the barrier. She literally
She wasn't through it either, though. The video shows her just kicking out the glass.
She was just about, man. I'm not trying to be a lawyer. I'm saying, like, this is their mentality.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I just, from the video, you might have seen a different video than I have, but the video I saw is that she was still kicking out the glass and then ate a bullet. Whereas there's a guy with an improvised weapon who's trying to get through the door. I figure that'd be the clear and present threat when there's an improvised weapon coming at you eventually.
It could have also been just that it was chaos and they one guy made the decision split second, like, okay, this. Right,
because it was only one shot, by the way. It's not like I think there was 4 Secret Service that are visible on camera in the hallway, and they didn't all just open up. It was one guy with one shot.
Right. It's also like there was this other photo of, I forget which house, like, where there was 4 Secret Service guys with guns drawn on the door, and people were like staring out the door. Like, they don't play games. Like, I think it was just, if anybody, I really feel at the heat of the moment, with the adrenaline, with the mob mentality, and with the experiences that they were going through prior, they just, this is just another, just like,
it's the hastily locked door that's in our way from vandalism, and
we could just pull through.
Yeah,
and
vandalism and property damage. This is just another door in the way, and we're going to get through it.
They're not going to stop. Everyone else is stopped. They're all a bunch of pussies. We're right.
Of course, the Secret Service isn't going to say, "Hey, Mike Pence is down this hallway. Don't you dare come down here."
Yeah, no, they can't say. They can't even say Mike Pence, because that would reveal how important it would be.
Right, which would also probably incite the crowd more.
Yeah, because Mike Pence is now considered a traitor by. It's Now,
let me spin it this way, Tiral. Suppose that was a black woman coming through the barricade, and a white Secret Service guy shot her.
Mm-hmm.
All right, DC would be on fire now.
There were a few black people in the crowd, and it's insane. There was one black guy who's photographed showing a white power symbol.
You sure that guy wasn't drunk? Maybe.
This is the bizarrest shit. I honestly feel that the Secret Service showed how well trained they were. That, remember that scene I was telling you about where they had like the 4 Secret Service guys next to the door to one of the legislator like big rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't shoot. Like, I saw some of the video, like the shit that people were doing, and people did push. But then when they saw all the guns drawn, they held back. I feel that the Capitol Police was so incompetent in every level, and the Secret Service kind of held the line. I don't know how bad things would have been if they were also incompetent. If the Secret Service.
I did see something on the news tonight briefly that I don't know if it was the DC Police Commissioner or their chief resigned.
One
of the high level leaders.
The head of security for Congress, he was asked to resign, and he did.
But it wasn't just him.
There was a couple.
DC Metro Police, I think one of their top tier guys resigned as well.
Okay, all right. I didn't know about that.
All right, spoiler break. I'm going to look it up real quick.
I would be surprised. Not that I wouldn't want it to happen, but I would be, with the police unions, people don't just accept resignation like that. So
U.S. Capitol Police Chief.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Resigns over outrage over security lapse. Daily News published yesterday.
How many weeks before he gets rehired again? These.
Can he? If you resign from the post, you kind of abandon your post, no?
That's the thing with cops, man. They get fired or they resign and they get rehired once the heat goes away by another place. The Babbit one, there were so many sad parts of it. Like, she gets hit in the neck. She thought she was okay.
No, she didn't, dude.
No,
She went down like a sack of potatoes. In the video I saw,
she went down like, this is why I meant it was sad. When she was down and other people went to help her or tried to just see what happened, she's literally told them, I'm okay.
that might have been the shock kicking in, but the video I saw, I don't see her moving her mouth at all. She went down like a sack of potatoes and stayed there.
It definitely, that makes sense. There was shock. Like, she didn't even know what happened to her.
Yeah,
like
she takes the shot. There's no like movie style recoil. As soon as the shot goes off,
just falls.
It's like the strings were pulled and she just fell to the ground and didn't move.
The fucking stupid retards out next to her. They didn't do any CPR. They didn't do any help. They didn't press him against the wound. They didn't do anything. They just sat there. One of the guys with the guns that was behind her, not a cop, because the cops stream in. Once the shots start firing, security in black come in from behind.
I have to disagree with you there, Tiral. The video I saw, there was 5 SWAT uniformed cops with badges.
They come out right after
they were already there, from what I saw. They were already there. I did not see any rioters with guns. The videos I saw only had SWAT geared cops with guns that were on the other side of the barricade. And as soon as the shot went off, they started raising hell for everybody to leave immediately. And the crowd, I'm probably not at the behest of the cops, but most likely because of the gunshot, the crowd left at that point.
I'm pretty sure there were insurrectionists with guns there. The cops come in right away. I mean, again, me and you are talking without the videos in front of us. It's just sad. And yet I understand the Secret Service's mentality. Like, they don't care, man. They really don't give a shit. If they had to mow down the entire hallway, they would have.
Oh, the Secret Service would have. Yeah, like, definitely. Because again, their ROE is different.
Their mentality is different. Their responsibility is different. Completely different. If they,
get to see some commentary on this about why the Secret Service reacted the way they did. Is there's a former Secret Service woman who's a newscaster now, but I can't remember what network. She's also been on some reality game shows. She's been on Joe Rogan too. Her name is Evie Pumporis. And she's awesome. I've listened to her a few times, and I'm sure she could shed some light and explain the Secret Service rules of engagement better.
Yeah,
they're not discussing it from the outside, and I think I'm pretty sure if you're currently active Secret Service, you can't talk about anything. But she's former, and she's been able to talk about some stuff from the shows I've seen. I'd like to see her.
Saving the VIP is the utmost.
Yeah, that's initiative number 1 right there.
Yeah, like, it's the second guy to die. Okay, so the police officer, the most likely thing is he died from brain head trauma, and most likely they found a fire extinguisher, and so he got hit in the head with a fire extinguisher, and he didn't recover overnight.
Well, it says that he went back to his station house
overnight, as in he was in the hospital overnight. Yeah, he was in the hospital.
Here we go. I got it. New York Post yesterday, or technically 2 days ago now, 1/7/2021. Brian D. Sicknick collapsed when he returned to his division office Wednesday. He was taken to the hospital where he died Thursday.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I remember reading that he died in the hospital, so I thought he was in the hospital overnight.
Hit head with fire extinguisher during the riots. The New York Post homepage, not the homepage, but the article video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's him, but like there's one Metro cop or Capitol cop standing in a stairwell, and there's like hundreds of people coming at him. They're not.
He's getting squished. The guy who's getting squished.
No. They weren't rushing at him. They were walking right towards him, and actually they had their hands up. But it's like one dude against hundreds of people. He's like, what is he going to do? He just hugs the wall at that point, you know? What are you going to do against that? What are you going to do, open fire and then they rush you? You know?
There was, to be fair to the other side of this thing with the Metro cops, a security consultant was saying that there's a certain order of priority. If your job is to protect this institution, it's not the building that's important, it's the people. So if you're overrun, instead of fighting a crowd and losing, the best thing to do is figure out the best way to give the people enough time to get out. So in a case where the Capitol Police were being overrun, they kept going back and they kept going back and they kept going back. And the idea should have been to like buy the Congress people time. Other people have come down, other security experts have come down and said like, watching what the Capitol Police did.
I actually just found a New York Post video, but it's completely from a crappy angle. Yeah, dude, but in this video, though, there's 5 armed cops in SWAT gear. There's nobody else. And she's not moving at all, man. She is done.
Yeah,
she went down and she isn't moving, like not even moving her hands, like not even twitching her fingers. She's immediately surrounded by cops.
No one helped her out. No one did CPR.
No, the cops are there, but they're like, there's no way we're getting EMS in here.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way we're getting EMS in here.
Well, I'm saying, so other people, other security consultants pushed back and said that if you look at the way the Capitol Police acted and their movements and their tactics, they showed an extreme lack of training, leadership, management, everything. So the DC Capitol Police Department annual budget is north of $460 million a year. For them to fail to this extent is, you know how I was saying, like usually you can say like, you know, incompetence and things like that. Like it's not even incompetence. Like something had to happen, because how do you fail this hard? The DC, I'm completely of the mind that there were many people in the Capitol Police that were MAGA, and they wanted what happened to happen. It doesn't make sense otherwise. It's too. Incompetence can only work so much. You have a $460 million annual budget, and this is this is the best you can do. So, and you know, and Trump, it's a completely sad situation.
It is. I'm still a little. Well, I don't know if I could say I'm pissed or whatever about the double standard, but like if that was a black teenager, right, climbing up, and he got shot, right, there'd be cities on fire, and now it's going to be swept quietly under the rug because of it being the assault on the Capitol, you know, and it was a white woman.
Well, it's being swept underneath the rug because the Secret Service were in the right. They have one job.
Yeah, the cops who are also dealing with armed youth, you know, in certain situations too, and yet there's still million people marches and, you know, vandalism and property damage.
Well, that's because if people are constantly getting killed out in the street and your life doesn't matter, then shit's gonna happen. The system doesn't work for you.
You know, that's the lowest the lowest gunshot victim or / death by gunshot FBI metric is a white cop shooting a black male.
That's because they're shooting white people too. So, I mean, if that metric is true, which I don't know, I mean, it's because they're shooting. Listen, cops are shooting everybody. You're much more likely to die from a cop than a heart attack in America. It's the only country that's true. You know,
I don't know about that, man. I think
that's
Venezuela and other dictatorial countries and whatnot, you know, with police death squads, I think your number might be skewed there.
Well, they're not dying from heart attacks. They're dying from other shit before they die from a heart attack. So
no, I mean shot by cop.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that over there they're not worried about heart attacks yet. They got other things to worry about.
All right, so the Anchorage Daily News has an individual's. Oh my God, one of these guys looks like somebody that I know. Actually, two of these guys look like somebody that I know. There's what looks like somebody's helmet GoPro right in front of the door. It's somebody in the front line in front of the door. You can see the Secret Service armed and ready to go on the other side of the door. Yeah, dude, in this video, I'm going to have to link it because the entire door frame is still up and most of the glass is still in the frame.
She tries to go through the top right glass, right?
Yeah, but the glass is still there. Like, she can't get through yet from what it looks like.
And
there's a guy with, now that this is a front row video, it looks like the guy has a broom handle. Initially, it looked like it was some sort of metal pole or an object. And then here's where it shows the armed guys. And, dude, even from the rioters' perspective, the only people armed are cops in this video. Like, it's not like it's been edited to protect anybody or anything like that. The only people that are armed in this video, other than the Secret Service on the other side of the glass in the barricade, there's a handful of SWAT geared up cops who actually don't look like they know who fired the shot first.
Yeah, they're scared for their lives too. Yeah,
a single shot went off and this woman dropped like a sack of potatoes in front of them.
Again, it's like we said, it was a chaotic situation.
Yeah.
The Secret Service have one set of rules to play by and one set of priorities. The cops have another. You have a obviously crazy person who's amped up on adrenaline in a group, in a mob mentality where everyone's amped up on adrenaline. She makes a move. The Secret Service make a decision. A woman dies.
Now in this same exact video, though, it looks like there is 4 uniformed cops in front of the door. And by the way, they just highlighted it. It was the speaker's lobby, so I don't know if Pence was down there, but McGovern was down the hallway. They actually highlighted him. And the 4 cops
may be wrong, then.
Are trying to hold the crowd back, even though some of the rioters at this point, they're starting to not get entirely physical, but like shoulder check them a little bit and try and put their weight against them. I think one rioter just tried spitting on one of the cops. It actually looks like one of these guys is trying to calm the crowd down. One of the rioters, or maybe not. It's hard to tell without audio right now because I don't want to drown us out.
One of the SWAT type security, he really tried to get people to calm down. Like they're once bullets start flying, like again, I don't know how much more I want to talk about this video or this person's death because I just feel it was a chaotic situation with a lot of crazy people and security forces that have shoot to kill, ask questions later mentality. Like they're just I don't know how much more there can be to it. Well,
actually, in this video, which is from a frontline perspective, again from one of the rioters, I guess a GoPro mounted on a helmet. It looks like at some point the cops in front of the door get an order to get out of the way because they just shifted to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not listening to it with audio, but they were pointing over the crowd and they may have said that other officers are coming or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as they shift, that's when she goes up. But the door frame was still intact. The wood wasn't splintered and broken at all, so I don't even know how she was going to fit through. And it's worth talking about, right? If it was any other demographic, it'd be all over the news.
I think it's all over the news now. I don't know why you bring race, constantly coming back to race. It's all over the news now.
Because it would be a much more aggressive and violent response if it was a different demographic. That's why.
So you're saying if like the Secret Service shot down a black guy or a black woman who's obviously not in the wrong, that all in a chaotic situation there's going to be riots, I think everybody would realize that bitch needed to die.
No, like there would definitely absolutely be protests of calling for the Secret Service person's resignation and that they should be tried for murder. Absolutely, that would be happening at this point.
I completely disagree, man.
I'm sorry you disagree, but that's most likely what would be happening.
Nope. In this situation, I think everybody except the insurgents would have been for the police service.
See, unfortunately, you're thinking rationally, and I'm very much aware of what would be happening on the other side of that rationale. Not saying that you'd be acting irrationally. That's not what I mean at all. I mean the public in general, and definitely a certain demographic would not be reacting rationally.
I don't think the video of her jumping up makes her to be this innocent victim. That's
right, but neither are, like, black teenagers who are armed or who try to wrestle a weapon away from a cop.
So first of all, if anybody's wrestling a weapon from a cop and the cop shoots it, no one complains. That's a
no, sir, you are incorrect. The whole
that's a justified. No city's burning because some kid tried to wrestle a gun away from a cop. Okay, I think you're exaggerating what happens. If there was a gun,
I'm sorry, but look back to the Michael Brown shooting. Right, he was trying to wrestle the gun away from the cop, and then that turned into a months-long protest.
I know Mike Brown just forgot about it. I know he was a big dude.
No, he was a teenage black kid, and I'm off the top of my head. He had just tried robbing a 7-Eleven, got caught by the cop, and then tried wrestling the weapon away from the cop.
Yeah, that's a justified.
He got shot in the process, and then it turned into months of outrage.
It's a justified kill there, so I got no.
Don't take my word for it. By all means, I suggest you look it up.
No, I mean, I'm totally fine with that. I mean, that's, like everyone's sad that she died, and she died for nothing.
Right, she died doing something stupid, which I think we can agree on. She's doing something insanely dumb, especially if you're going to try and do an aggressive move towards armed people that are pointing their weapons at you already.
She had military training. She did 3 tours. I think she was crazy, man. Someone with military training would have to know, like, not to do what she did. Like, it's not rocket science, but I'm not trying to blame the victim.
Right.
I'm just trying to say that this was a chaotic situation. The Secret Service did what they felt they had to do. They had to make a decision.
She's also responsible for her own actions. Like that's something that's very much getting lost in this country, is that you're responsible for your actions and you're responsible for the immediate consequences of your actions.
She had a husband. She had a kid.
Yeah. She had a career.
She had a career.
She probably had a military pension because she was in for 14 years or something like that.
Yeah. No one needed to die. The police officer didn't need to die. She didn't need to die. 2 of the deaths. Okay, all the other deaths have been called medical.
Yeah, I saw that too. That it was medically related.
That, like, people getting heart attacks and whatnot. One of the heart attacks. One of the details did come out that the guy got a heart attack because he went in. The insurgent went in and tried to steal a painting of Tip O'Neill. I don't know who that is, but there's a painting of this guy. Wanted to steal that or take it out of the frame, and he had concealed a taser in his sweatpants. And somehow, as he was trying to steal this, the taser went off and shocked his balls enough times that he got a heart attack. That is the official story.
All right.
He died from a heart attack from a constant tasering of his balls.
All right, what a way to go, first of all. Second of all, what did I just say, right? That it's a lost thing in this country to be held responsible for your own actions and your immediate consequences for those actions. Right? So, like, I don't feel bad for that guy. If you brought a weapon that malfunctioned, you brought the weapon.
I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but, like, there's a cropped image of him with 2 guns, 2 rifles above his head, and, his story, like, they're using it. And there's something felt weird about it. So I Google food and find, the real image, his full image that he posted during his Christmas. He has 2 rifles. He has a rifle in each hand in front of his, fake Christmas tree. And he's got 2 guns in his sweatpants. So he's 4 guns on him at one time, and he's got and underneath this tree, his fake plastic tree, is like boxes of ammo. So this is the type of nutcase we're talking about, and these are not normal people. These are not the average.
Yeah, they were definitely amped up and on the other end of the spectrum, definitely. Like people like you and I wouldn't be going down there and doing something like this.
Absolutely not. Or we wouldn't go inside the building. I mean, if I wanted to go in the building, I would hitch a a tour group. I would go in as a tourist later during normal hours. But what we're saying is like these are not normal people. There's two videos of different guys falling off while climbing the wall. One climbed and just fell. The other one, there was a cop, and the cop just shoved this guy out, and they fell all the bottom. So I don't know if that explains the other two deaths. But
well, again, right? You need to be. It's lost in this country that you are held responsible for your own actions and the immediate consequences of your actions.
How about we don't climb?
How about you don't, right? Like in that same vein, which is what I was trying to get to, what you called me out on before, right? Is like maybe you don't pull a weapon on a cop.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even pull a fake weapon on a cop. Because what's the cop immediately going to think? That's real. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Tiral. I think we can run around in circles about this because there really is no rational reason or rational finale.
No one should have entered the building. They should have stayed on the street. They should have stayed behind the barricades. They could have yelled and shouted, danced, sang, protested, all you want. That's what people do. If you protest, you protest. No one should have entered the stage. I don't care. I want people prosecuted. I want Alex Jones, who came in and started talking crazy. I want all the people with microphones and bullhorns there to get prosecuted. I want everybody who riled us up prosecuted. I want people to point at Trump and say, you incited this, you did this. And guess what? His legal team came in. His legal team told him, like, hey, your legal liability has now jumped through the roof, and the Justice Department is now open to investigating incitement. That's when Trump...
I'm surprised wasn't there? I'm surprised Richard Spencer wasn't there.
Richard Spencer?
He's a very outspoken public speaker for a white supremacist group. Although he hides under the guise that he's a nationalist, not a supremacist.
Yeah, hasn't his star fallen a bit?
Oh yeah, I tried just to see who he was.
Yeah.
I tried listening to one of his talks. I think it was at Chapel Hill in North Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill, and I got through about 5 minutes. And I'm like, this guy's a horrible public speaker. Like he couldn't even get his point across just to like even make his own case. It was really, really, I don't know who was writing his speeches. He was probably writing his own. And it was really horribly well done. He was not meant to be a public speaker at all.
He has the look. He definitely had the gimmick.
He's got the gimmick.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely got the look and definitely got the gimmick. So, I mean, let's,
right. Now, I want to address one thing you just said, though, about not going into the building. I think the Capitol building is a public building, right? Certain areas are publicly accessible.
Not today. Not while Congress is in session. And especially not when the session is about certification election results. You can go as a tourist, and they have, there's a lot of security, but you can go in and, it is a public building, but not today. I think, again, if you stayed in the street, I don't want anyone to get arrested. I don't want anyone to have any repercussions. I don't want anyone to even be negatively affected by broad strokes of the paintbrush. Because that could happen now. Because all those cell phone records, all those air flight records, hotel records, the FBI, NSA, they're coming after people.
They're going to say Patriot Act. And there you go.
It's someone was explaining to me that they're going to go make an example out of people. Like, you do not do this to federal, at this level.
It's funny you say that because I saw, I don't know if it was a tweet. I forgot what platform it was on, but it was somebody saying that there's that he started a national list of Trump supporters and that people should add known Trump supporters to this list and that they'll be taken care of. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's pretty much what it said. Huh?
Who is he?
I wish for the life of me I could remember. I saw it before the holidays in December, so I don't remember it word for word. I don't remember the name at all, and I'd have to dig to find it. But I remember seeing that, and that's pretty scary too. You know?
They're coming. They're coming. The feds on my server. While this was happening, my biased, jaded ass was saying nothing's gonna happen. Every white privilege, everyone's gonna go home, have a grand old time. Nothing gonna happen. And lawyers were telling me, no, the feds are gonna come. They're gonna make an example. Like, you can't let this slide. Not at this level. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Nothing's gonna happen. And it turns out I was wrong. They're going after people. And I sincerely hope people who were there at the protest, who stayed on the street and left before curfew, that they were able to go home. Don't get mixed up and don't get pulled in. But people are going to get made an example of. People are absolutely going to get made examples of. There's going to be a whole lot of lives ruined for nothing.
Yep.
For absolutely nothing. And at the end, I hold Trump accountable. You know, like I sincerely do. You know, he's a lunatic with charisma.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Wait, but didn't he come out and tell everybody to go home?
Only he said to go home, I think, after multiple requests were denied, and then something turned, like somebody got to him eventually at the party and was like, okay, you gotta tell him to go home. But even then, that message was really shitty because he's like, I love you, you did great. You know, like, even the message was horrible. Like, it was, he's so shitty. You know, there's no other.
Well, it ends in 11 days. Pelosi's going to go ahead and waste more taxpayer dollars on an impeachment process in the 11 days left.
So this is something that's problematic because I think she's making people that are now taking things personally. I think, and I understand why. I mean, they felt physically in danger. They felt their people in danger. They were put in an emergency situation. Like, now, things have gotten to the point where everything is personal, and now things are vindictive, things are petty. Mm-hmm. There's no more decorum, and everyone feels righteous. And as stupid as this sounds, my friend was telling me, this is how civil wars start. This is how conflict begins, when you everything's personal. Because if you look at it from a pure strategy point of view, going for impeachment is stupid. Doesn't make any sense in terms of time, effort, energy, money. Makes zero sense. But it's not about making sense anymore. Now people are thinking with their hearts. They're not thinking with their heads. So the impeachment trial, I think it's a huge mistake. And I think we're going to see a lot more mistakes in the next coming days because there's no more strategical thinking anymore. People are pissed. People are livid, and everything is personal now. I hope everything calms down sooner than later, but I'm not optimistic.
All right, Tiral. We've been at it for quite some time, my friend.
Yes. No, it's 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Well, let's conclude. Okay, so what are your concluding thoughts?
I think the Patriot Act is going to get even tighter. It's a shame because federal tax paid for locations are probably going to become off limits. There's going to be repercussions on crowd gatherings for sure, I bet.
Yeah, I don't think people are gonna be able to protest in the White House lawn anymore.
But wait, there's more. I guarantee you the Second Amendment is going to get strangled even further.
I don't think anything is going to happen with Second Amendment.
It's probably going to come front and center.
I don't think anything like that. I think what we're going to see is all those idiots with their cell phone cameras streaming and using social media, they're all going to get screwed. They're all, like, everybody who thought they were... Again, you know, how stupid do you have to be? You're committing a crime, and you're posting on social media, and you're using your cell phones so they can be geolocated. Do you understand? Like, these idiots don't even understand how cell phones work. It's not magic. You know, there's towers. They triangulate your location. That's how Google Maps works.
I'm sorry. I'm digging through this site, and there's somebody photoshopped a pic of Joe Biden sniffing the Buffalo guy.
Oh. Okay. So let's conclude with this. You want to hear the tragedy?
I think we're done for the night, my friend.
You want to? No, I want to say the MAGA shaman or Q shaman or whatever. He's got a bunch of names. The funniest thing in this whole one of the funniest things in this tragedy is he's been fingered as an Antifa operative. This guy who's a white supremacist has got massive white supremacist tattoos on him. Right?
Wait, hang on. About the tattoos, right? Yeah. So he had a Thor's hammer tattooed over his ribs. If we're talking about the same guy, and
same guy.
You and I know people that follow the pagan spiritualism that wear Thor's hammers, and they're not white supremacists.
That's not the one. There's a multiple triangle one over his left pec.
Right.
That's a white supremacist one.
I think it's called a Vagnut. I think.
Oh, but
I'm gonna look that up.
The funniest thing is, imagine spending your whole in last 5 years of your identity around Q and MAGA and all this other stuff, and you being like the craziest one and the most like hardcore, and you do the most hardcore thing, you invaded the Capitol and all this other stuff, and then you check your online social media presence and everyone's calling you an Antifa agent provocateur. They think he's Antifa now.
Yeah.
So I mean that's some delicious art, but there's more stupid shit coming down the pike. That's the long and short of it. We have a stupid government.
Yeah, I'm trying to find I had the name wrong. Apparently it's not called the Vagnut. I looked it up and it brought me to prison tattoo page, which obviously isn't what I was looking for. What is going on here? Okay, so I definitely saw a different name for this tattoo, but I just found it on Google. It looks like it's called a triquerta tattoo.
Yes, that's the known white supremacist one.
It's a pagan meaning for the earth, sea, and sky, but it also, for Christians, it's a symbol of the Holy Trinity. And not anywhere am I finding it saying this is a white supremacist thing.
There's
the Valknut meaning. Hang on.
It's not that it's inherently white supremacist. Very few symbols, except for the Nazi ones, are inherently white supremacist. The vast majority have been co-opted. Do you know what I mean? They've been taken and said, like, okay, we're.
So here we go. The Valknut. It wasn't the Vagnut. It's the Valknut. 9 points of the triangle have been associated with the 9 worlds of Norse mythology. 3 interconnected triangles have been said to reflect the connection between Earth, Heaven, and Hell. It's been associated with the magic of Odin.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find anything that says this is a white supremacist Nazi tattoo, and that's not coming up. So I think that's a very far stretch for people to be like, that guy's a white supremacist.
And it's not. I mean, it's pretty. There's some standard. I mean, the thing with those symbols, other than like the Nazi ones, is they're meant to be a bit obscure. I was watching CNN. They had an expert come in and talk about it.
Yeah, I am digging through Google using a very basic search query for that, and like the first page doesn't say anything that this is a white supremacist tattoo.
Yeah,
so I mean, it feels like that was a deep dive. Also, considering the guy had a Thor's hammer, he might have just been like a pagan.
Could have been. It's but now I mean the world, the internet, the MAGA internet thinks he's Antifa plant. So yeah. So all right. Thanks. I guess we
Thanks for joining us again, folks. I think maybe next week we go a little more lighthearted to counterbalance this.
Yeah, maybe we have to do another pop culture one.
Yeah, right. Maybe we talk about the plastic crack again.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. I think this has been a bonus edition because it's much more extended than usual.
Yeah, stay safe, people.
Stay safe, everyone. Be careful.
If you commit crimes, don't post it on social media. Don't call people with your cell phone. Don't take pictures. If you're doing crime,
be aware that you need to be responsible for your own actions, and you're responsible for the immediate consequences of your actions.
Don't take pictures, guys.
Be safe out there, folks. Everybody have a good night.